meeting is
Sorry.
being recorded. Got it.
Okay,
It says leave meeting,
should you
so-
do?
There we
Should
go.
you do the introduction again?
Okay,
Not with the same Nordic precision this time, but you know.
Okay. All right. So, hi everyone. Good to see you all. My name is Badejo, and I am founder and CEO of JS Genesis and founder of the project. I have Martin to my left over here. The only other person in Norway who's our head of operations, and I think that's everyone from inside of JS Genesis currently on the call. Really happy to have you all here.
No, it's not. But I guess it's up to them if they want to reveal themselves.
Okay. Well, don't. You'll make me look foolish for not knowing. But it's good to see you all anyway. So the purpose of this call is just to be able to, well, first of all, answer some questions and then maybe have some impromptu discussion of topics that maybe wouldn't come up if we were just to have some of these content videos that I try to make every now and again at a pretty low frequency. So that's sort of the purpose of the call. So we were going to try to have me answer a few of the questions that have been submitted in advance, have some discussion with Martin, and then get to some open-ended conversations after that. We have 45 minutes, Martin?
Yeah, well, that was the time allotted.
We could go over. I mean, but that's the target. So I think there were some questions submitted in advance.
Yeah, we can also add that if you. Yeah, I'll just want to add like the what do you call it? The rules, if you want to say it that way.
What are the rules?
Yeah, they are that if you have a question in another language, Russian specifically, we have someone who can translate it over to English for you. So you can either write it in the chat or something, or just say it in Russian. That's fine too. I'm gonna turn on this feature I just learned how to. Hopefully, we'll see how it works in practice. So you have to ask to become unmuted. So I'll turn that on right now. More unmute themselves. Now you should not be able to. So you'll have to ask to unmute by doing reactions and wave. And if I miss it, hopefully someone else will write in the chat or something. So I'll remember again. Yeah. So we had a round on this a while back where we wanted to do it, and we got in a few questions, which I then went through at great length. Not so much the ones we've gotten today, like 2 hours ago, was a little too late for the same treatment. So I've just gathered what I thought was interesting and what was most requested, I guess. So we'll just start with those. And the first one, which I've maybe edited a bit, when mainnet, sir?
Right. Okay. This is an excellent question. I ask myself this every day, every hour of every day. Right. So as many of you probably know, initially the goal was for mainnet to be Q4 of this year. That's not going to happen. Just to dispel all the hopes that may have been lingering, that was still feasible. So I think you have to think in terms of what we think we need to get out as part of the minimum viable blockchain functionality that we would think of as very difficult to upgrade if we're going to have to do it after being live. So what does that mean? This means definitely all the stuff in Olympia, which you may have heard of. So that's all the, Pioneer 2 is going to get rolled out pretty soon. So that's the new governance app. That isn't available yet. That's going to be available. Hopefully, I think December was the last date we had. Then there's Giza, which is actually before that, which is the release we're working on now. It was the last estimate we announced was 2 days ago. So, that didn't happen. We're still working on it. That is a release that tries to upgrade the storage and bandwidth system. That's going to be a huge release. It's going to open up a bunch of new roles for people. So those are two important milestones. Then there's Roads, which is where we deploy the NFT functionality that we're building. So that's in heavy design design mode right now. So the blockchain side of it has been built, is finished. design side of it is still going. I do publish videos from the designers sort of iterating on that. So if you're interested in how that's going to look, you can dive in and look at that. But those are like 3 big milestones. Those are all feasible for, I think, maybe the NFT side, not, but within 2021. Then like the other big milestone that would be left before we could go live. So you can already gather that we're in 2022 at this point. One would be that we have a bunch of runtime parameters. Like we have a whole new blockchain that none of you have seen that's going to be rolled out in Olympia. And there are a ton of runtime parameters. All of those need to be configured, and we need to have clear rules and tips on how to upgrade them, if the council is going to upgrade them, what are good values, what are bad values. So that needs to be its own release. And beyond that, certainly inducting more founding members. I'm sure we'll touch on the founding member program. But it's an open question for us how many founding members we need. In part, it definitely depends on
answer all the questions at once.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so because everything connects to everything. So I don't know how the... Okay, so we need to have more founding members than we currently have, and then I'll leave it at that. And so that influences when we go live, our founding member strategy, basically. Because the point is for you guys to run this, but we need enough guys and gals to do that. And right now, I don't think we're there. And I don't think we would get there in 2021 either, even if we make certain changes that we're trying to make as well. So that's certainly an important milestone. And then the last milestone, which I would still consider like absolute, is the second audit. So we've done 1 blockchain audit so far. And the second audit would need to be done for all the new stuff and checking that all our fixes for the old stuff, everything's still working. And that is both, it's time consuming to get access to auditors, even when you have a relationship with them before. And it also takes some time to do it. So like our best guess right now is spring of next year. So that's anywhere from March to June. So there's that long prelude was just to get to that punchline. So you could just, if someone makes a clip, just remove everything just like March, June. That's the, yeah. Okay. Does that, what do you think, Martin? Did I leave anything out?
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not, because we'll probably try to, I was going to allow people to now see if they had any questions related to it, but it was like so many things touched upon there. So it's kind of hard if you.
So should we do that?
Try for that.
Should we allow vote on, or what do we do here?
Oh, well, let's give it a go. Does anyone have a question that's kind of related to the actual question, not maybe all those little nooks and crannies of the answer? It sounds like criticism too, but it wasn't meant that way. It was there's so many things you can ask there. I don't see any reactions, so I'm going to say no. Okay. The second one is already going to the founding member program. There's a couple of them. How long is the founding member program going to run, and how many members are you targeting?
Right. So there are 2 possible horizons for the founding member program. One is mainnet. That's always what we wanted to do. Mainnet finished, done. In which case, it would run until anywhere in the March to June interval that we just talked about, spring basically. But I think if, for example, we wanted to go even sooner and the only bottleneck for going live was the founding member program, or if we said that, everything's done, but we don't have enough founding members still, it would be not in the interest of the project to go live with however many founding members we had. We're now open to trying to run it after mainnet also. So that means people can still earn tokens for various kinds of activities once mainnet is launched. And it also means that you would lose this problem that we currently have, that the closer you get to mainnet, people get this feeling that, hey, it's only a month till founding member program ends, so why even bother, even though that's the most important time to make sure we're getting more and more people. So we're considering both of those horizons still. It could still end at mainnet launch, or now we're also considering past mainnet to some period of time, not too long. Right, that's the goal here, is to try to do that as gracefully as possible.
And of course, it could look quite different as well.
Of course, yes.
After mainnet, it will probably have to look a little bit different for many reasons.
So that's the how long. There's also how many. And here we've had sort of different. Well, we haven't had different opinions. There have just been a bunch of numbers thrown around, And I think that one way you could try to think about it is, okay, well, assume you have the Joystream DAO, you have the council, you have the storage providers, bandwidth providers, content directory working groups, people operating the Bounty module. Like you just try to add together some estimates of all these people. And then you want to say, we want to at least have like, I don't know, 4 or 5x that number of people because some people lose interest or they get a child or whatever reason. So people disappear, right? And if you do that sort of math, it's totally plausible to imagine numbers low as 200, for example, right? Which is low in the sense that it sounds low, but it's much bigger than the current number. So keep that in mind. So now there's no science to that number, but that's one way to try to work out a number. I'm of the thought that it would be great to have much more than that, just because I do know people scatter to the wind when other priorities pop up, and it would be a shame if just like the community became too small or too brittle to keep driving things forward. But yeah, there's also the counter effect, which I think Martin is more of this school, that if you have too many people, they have an incentive which is too small. And so maybe they're like, well, okay, I'm one of 200 or one of 2,000. So I'll just leave it to those guys to do it, or gals, and I'll just sort of hang out, right? So
the free rider problem.
The free rider, yes. So we will have to see. Yeah, that's at least I threw out a number that should be better than the current status quo.
Perhaps
what do you think?
We're going to get more to that later, but I could also say that, of course, that doesn't necessarily include things such as content creators, for example.
Right.
They will be maybe a separate group of people,
yes.
But we're going to touch on that a little more. I'm going to just go to the second founding member question before we open for questions for this one, because they're kind of related and similar. So what is the main purpose of the FM founding member program? Is it to train the users or building a community?
Well, it's to train a minimum set of users who could run and grow the system, right? I think so. A community, I think, is much broader than that. There are people who are absolutely not interested in being participants in the system. They're just like, well, I like to invest in things. I like the numbers to go up. I don't want to get involved in 1,000 different projects and work in them. Those are, to some extent, they're still part of a community, right? Those are not really the target in the founding member program, because you sort of have to put in quite a lot of effort. And yeah, so I don't think it's, maybe you could say it's the core of the community, which are the people who actually make things grow and work. So in that sense, you could say it's a subset of the community. And I don't think as a project, we really have given much care at all to like this broader notion of the community. Like, okay, people who are just interested, but they will not want to spend a lot of time actually working, right? Or certainly creators are not part of the community, but they haven't been a focused area for us. So it isn't, I think that distinction is in the question is correct. It's more to train the people who will be the operational elites, if you will, the people who will actually make the system grow and draw in other people and have visions for how to improve it, which can't be everyone. And then the broader community will be a target for other kinds of initiatives. So
yeah,
that's the answer there.
Sounds about right.
I feel like you should disagree more, Martin, to make for some interesting back and forth.
Okay. Can you repeat that? No. I'll save my disagreements for other questions.
Okay.
I was expecting you to provide a different number for the previous question, where we have disagreed over like the size of the founding member. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say your example of 2000,
right.
Because that's
I think
usually
what
you. Yeah, but you said it as an example of something that it wouldn't necessarily be. Anyway, so that seems like a good time to open for questions around the founding member program.
Only around that? That's the only type of question.
Well, it was the two questions we held out. There's a little bit more before we go to the free for all.
Oh, okay.
So just the founding member part now. if I see any hands.
I had a question, but I think that you answered it. I wanted to ask, how do you imagine a role of founding members in mainnet? Because people who come to the project, they only think about that they will give tokens and they will get tokens and that's all. Mm-hmm. But few days ago, I had read the text on Joystream.org and .org. Sorry, I'm very scared. That's why it's difficult for me to speak.
You do great.
And when I read the text, I saw that you want founding members to grow and improve Joystream on mainnet. I want you to explain it one more time for people who don't understand it.
Okay, so good clarification. So if we take a step back, what is Joystream? Joystream is not like, let's say, Bitcoin, in the sense that in Bitcoin, you really have no built-in way for people to make decisions about what should happen tomorrow or the day after tomorrow or anything about how it evolves. There's no way for the community to, in a formal way, decide the fees should go up or down, or the block space should be this, or we should include this kind of a encryption scheme or anything like that. So Bitcoin is this very sort of, it's good in all sorts of ways, but it's this sort of system without much governance in it. And so all the decision-making and rules happen outside of Bitcoin. And so there are all sorts of informal ways those are done. In Joystream, you have a DAO. And what is that? That's a formalized decision-making structure where people sit inside of those different positions and they make decisions about what is allowed to do in the content directory, what should it cost to upload certain content, what should these storage providers earn per day. I mean, there are like 1,000 different decisions that need to be made in the Joystream DAO, just like in the YouTube company, if you will. I mean, YouTube isn't a standalone company, but you get the analogy. There are a million different operational and financial and strategic decisions that have to be made. Joystream has a very similar requirement. And so the point here is to have a way for anyone in the world to show up and say, I want to lend my capacity and energy and interests and skills to enhance the system by occupying positions in this DAO. And without it, it wouldn't actually work, right? So that's why the point, like as important as the technology we're building, is to find the key first people who will occupy all these positions and have a vision of their own, which they can collaborate with others to develop and harmonize to grow and advance the system, right? So that's why the founding member program is very, very focused on finding those people who are future oriented and want to be involved, right? Now, there's no way in which we can make any kind of a scheme where we somehow give you tokens or access and then it requires you to actually do something productive in the system, right? We can only try to design something that selects for people who have these characteristics, and then it's good enough. And that's sort of in the interest of the project to succeed. So some people will definitely just do what they need to do and they're like, well, I don't want to. Some people will come into the DAO and they'll be like, I'm just here just to get some tokens. And then maybe it's actually more interested than they thought, or they made some connections with other people and they found a project that they liked. And so they become more interested in actually running it than they initially thought, right? That definitely can happen. So we're just trying to set the things up to find and support those people who see a future for themselves, where this can be like the main thing they do. They build their like online career and like a lot of things that they do in terms of, you know, actually it could really become a job and you could build a company around, and all sorts of like bigger things are in store for the people who really want to align themselves with the project longer term. And those are the people we're trying to find. Was that too roundabout? Should I give a TLDR version of that somehow?
Is it
okay? Yeah, I guess for anyone, was that clear?
Yes. I just want to explain to people that founding member status, it's not only about tokens. It's about responsibility. And your
Definitely.
answer
That's what we kind of, it's
that's all.
okay. No, I was just saying it's kind of like if you again do a Bitcoin analogy, the founding member program is proof of work. You have shown that you are willing to do the work with hopes of being rewarded, of course, but so will be the case on mainnet as well, because if you occupy the same roles on mainnet, they will also be rewarded in addition to the already to the tokens you already earned. You can earn more, and that is your incentive to continue. And you're probably more qualified than the average person, which should be good for you and then thus the project. Okay. What? Oh, I have to unmute you?
No. Me?
Yeah,
no, Badeo.
No, for me, apparently if I
Oh,
mute myself,
sorry.
yeah, this was me. So, sorry. Yeah, apparently if you mute yourself, you can't unmute yourself again. Yeah.
Tough luck.
Yeah.
No, okay. I'm going to skip ahead to, well, yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time. It's I'll just try to get these two into one. So both of these two are about marketing. So one of them is about how to maybe not just to attract more founding members, but attract more people as a whole to the DAO in this case. So I would say it's related to founding members. If there are any plans, specific plans or not so specific going forward for marketing campaigns there. And then we'll do the same for content creators basically after.
Okay, I was going to lump that in. So
yeah,
certainly
I figured.
you have specific plans for content creators. That would be one way for more awareness and more users of the system to grow. Now, just more plans about generally spreading the word, like having the information reach people all around in the crypto ecosystem about Joystream. I think that's something you could say we've literally spent no time doing, right? So that's certainly something we should do. And it's been an internal question for us, which is, okay, should we spend time trying to make our testnets work better, for people to have a better experience, for the tools to work better, for the people that we already have? Or should we be trying to spend effort and time finding new people and acquainting them with the project? And we've really gone with the first strategy, which is to double down and improve the tech and product. And probably we could have spent more time improving like the community incentives and certainly like the information. That's one of the things we've been learning more recently, that, yeah, I mean, there's a lot for people to do, but it's not organized in a way that's really great for people to actually engage with. So it's really hard for people who even show up by some means to actually get involved. But that's at least where our focus has been in that overall category. And so I think reasonably soon, let's say, I think it would be natural just to make sure once we're more happy with the experience someone has when they show up, when they try to get involved, when they try to, let's say, get into a working group or the council, there's a good experience in doing that. It could make sense then to try to reach out more proactively and attract more people to the project. Just doing that up front could just end up with you spending a lot of energy and time, and then people just come to your project and then they leave because there's some kind of a problem in the communication or explanation or something.
Yeah, I guess we can also say that the one time we did get a lot of new people in was when someone other than us posted this about the founding member program.
Yes,
yeah,
that is a great point.
That was the biggest inflow of users we've had.
That's weird. So you're sort of contradicting me here, because most of the way the Russian-speaking community found Joystream was because someone put Joystream on ICO drops or some kind of airdrop site, and then a bunch of people showed up and they talked to other people, which precisely contradicts what I just said. But anyway,
well, we didn't do it. We didn't do it, that one. So that part is
it contradicts the idea that it isn't worthwhile doing more of now. Yeah. But it's one of these, maybe it's one of these random things that it's really hard to engineer. I don't know. It's hard to say.
It's about timing, I think, as well. A lot of things. So we probably got lucky. Was that just before we went away from Telegram over to Discord? Or Because I remember when we had inflows on Telegram in general, when that was our only communication channel, it was pretty much impossible. I see you. Was pretty much impossible to actually reply and do something when people came in. So it's kind of changed a bit in that sense as well. But yeah, we have a follow-up question here. I'm gonna ask to unmute.
Yeah, just to comment that there was no Russian community, we probably would be still in Telegram. Was one of the biggest reasons that we changed that. So yeah, just to add that.
Actually, I did not hear what you said. Could you repeat that one more time, Ricardo? One of the biggest reasons was
because of the Russian community started to grow. I think it was even like after the airdrop start to bring a lot of people. I think that was the biggest reason for us to change. I think it was a good call because
now that you mention it, I remember. Sorry. Okay, next question here. I'm gonna.
Hi there.
Hi.
Tell us, is there a collaboration planned? I mean, there was information about boardroom in KPI. I think it's planned for collaboration or not.
So I'm not. I just saw that there's like this site that features and sends out newsletters about DAOs in the crypto space. Obviously, those two are kind of that's not much separation there. So if people are interested in the DAO, they will maybe have heard of this place. I have no idea how big it is and how big reach it has. So I figured it would be interesting to find out, because if that is something people with an interest in the two things that we could attract them with, crypto and DAOs, that seems like a good place to go to find people who not only wants to, but also probably can contribute quite a lot. So yeah, that's the reason behind that. It was just the spur of the moment to create that KPI, but I think if the results are good, i.e. it's the feedback is good, then sure, that could be a thing going forward. But if we're talking about marketing campaigns in general, which then I think they all have to...
Hello?
Yeah, you were out there for a while, but now you're back.
Oh, it was me? I didn't know if
maybe it was me.
I was just going to say, so I'm not sure about, so Boardroom, as far as I know, I have not used it, but it's like a governance dashboard for like some standard subset of Ethereum DAOs, I think, when I look at it and the way I've just sort of heard it. And so it's like a dashboard. So if you want to discover DAOs, you can go here. So I think that would be difficult for us because we are obviously not interoperable with the Ethereum DAO landscape. But anyway, I think you probably did not look too deeply into it. Now, there are other things. There's like Deep DAO. There are other like DAO aggregators we could try to have partnership with. Probably more to, as the last question was about, draw in more people who don't know about Joystream at all to become familiar with it. But maybe you
just
know about.
Sorry.
So I was going to say to the person who I can tell is a founding member, but I don't know your name. I'm sorry. Do you use Boardroom, or do you have some experience with it, given that you asked? I think that was a yes, but he was muted. So
I try to ask him to there we go.
Okay, so maybe that's fine. We should not have this opt-in like muting thing. Maybe people should just be able to unmute without asking. Yeah, but anyway. So
I just see there's a couple of questions in the chat as well. Oh. So maybe we should, instead of going too fast, see if how do you identify these people who will truly contribute to the project? That's a little bit over in the founding member world, but it's an interesting question. It's like, it's kind of why we have KPIs and Well, that was one of the main reasons why we had KPIs, I think, is the easiest answer to that. Because you are forced to do something and return something, and if you do it well, it's a good sign. Of course, there's a variety of different tasks, so it's not like if you need a programmer, you're looking for a different set of skills than one that's able to generate interest and gather people and have them discuss things in a good manner, which is like two very different things, but still very important for a project like ours. Do you want to add something there?
Are you sure you answered the question? I think there's, how do you, so this is Mary75. Should we answer all the questions in the chat, like one by one, or? I think we should prioritize people who are willing to ask, I guess, in the stream. But if no one wants to jump on, does anyone want to ask a question, or should we just go to the chat? Because that's the question. All right. So I will go to the chat since no one did anything I could perceive. So how to identify, these people, I guess that's what you're trying to answer, Martin, which is to have the scoring periods where you report what you've done and it's checked by the person who operates the program, Ben, who isn't on the call. And so we try to basically look at qualitatively and see, does this look like the sort of person who over time is likely to stick around and seems to know a lot and likely cares a lot. So that's the way we do it. It's a process that has various flaws in it. For example, I think people would like there to be a more clear benchmark for what exactly is needed to become a founding member. And, this is this trade-off there. If you give a very objective, clear benchmark up front, then it becomes easier to get sort of false positives, people who actually aren't that long-term oriented. It's a balance, but I will say we are definitely going to review and revitalize the founding member program in terms of the terms and the information and what is required. So we're continuously reevaluating, and we have very recently decided that we need to make substantial changes. But that's the answer to that question. What effort do you value the most in terms of the contribution? I guess Ben should answer this one. But the more, I guess this, you can
is that just for founding member points, or is it for more in general? Because we can answer the more in general one, and I will then say it depends on what we like. You want a diverse community, of course, but you need some skill sets, and if you have many with one skill set, you will be looking for people with the other skill set. So I think it's
but I don't think that's a real effect for us now. I don't think that's apart from
it's not in the founding member but I'm saying now at a more conceptual level, if you will, not just founding member points. It's not like then that's a different thing. I'm talking about the more high level concept here. And then I would say it depends a little bit what you need, because say we add something where you need a lot of people who are able to translate stuff, then you would want people who can translate stuff. It's just, I don't know how, I don't think that was the greatest answer, but the point is that it will vary across what you need.
Maybe I can give a more a way of thinking about it, which helps you in general, which is to think just look at what's happening, look at the council, look at the proposals, look at the system overall, ask people what problems there are, just try to understand the system. That requires effort. And by just developing an understanding, you will be distinguishing yourself from other people who are not doing that and who are just doing random things. And so once you've developed that understanding of what's on the ground right now is the problem, then you'll be in a great position to say, what's the most valuable thing I can do to solve these problems? Maybe you can't solve these problems, but there's like problem number 6. Actually, you can solve it, right? And so what you'll be doing there is you'll be showing that, okay, you're developing an understanding which is not trivial or obvious to acquire. You're providing useful value to the system that no one else is doing, and it's genuinely solving a problem. And if you just explain that to Ben or whoever is reviewing it, I would think in a very short period of time, you'd become a founding member. So I think it's really about just imagine, I guess myself, what do? I just night and day, I just think 24 hours a day, what can I do to make Joystream more successful? That's what I do. And therefore, I see all sorts of things that could be done, and I do them. And therefore, I, in theory, would get a founding member program status very quickly. Now, of course, what I'm describing is not a trivial commitment. It takes time and effort, and so that's the cost, right? But that's actually the way to get in is that you have to bear that cost, or for some reason be just like extremely effective at figuring things out, right? So that's like the general thing. There shouldn't be like a free lunch, super simple way of showing that you're a great founding member that just no one else is doing and it's super valuable without putting in any effort. That would be very hard to design something like that. So hopefully that gives some clarity. So that I feel like we've addressed that one reasonably well at this point.
Yeah.
There's
a longer question there. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to could just raise their hand. So, but I'll just keep reading until people do. So there's a super long one here from member Leet who says, as I can see from what is already said, we need much more founding members. And in fact, it will turn into new people who will come and take this slot because they will be more enthusiastic about it. If I have some people who are searching for good projects to join, parentheses, I think JS is one of them. Great. I agree. What is the best activity of the newcomer can start with? In your opinion, I ask about it because working, for example, in council group may require some sort of experience, in my opinion. Am I right? Is that right that working in the council may require experience? I'm not convinced about that. Now, I should say I haven't worked in the council, so I may just be totally speaking hot air here, but I don't think it does. If you just sit down and look at the docs and ask people, it should be feasible for a newcomer to figure it out. We can make it easier to figure it out. But what do you think, Martin? What do you think, Ricardo?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think if you're willing to ask some questions to people in Discord or forum or even in the proposals, I mean,
so
a little bit of minimum investment of time up front. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a follow-up there.
Yeah,
I think Ricardo wants to say
I think it's possible to easy things a bit for new members to understand what they need to do. But since some members in the council have some experience, so it's not like really required that just one member to know everything. So you could just check the KPI pages and choose a task and pay attention to the proposals and ask the other council members. So yeah, I think it's very possible for a new member to do that. Besides the council, you can also advise them to try some bounty if they have the skill required for it. Yeah, and besides that, you can also maybe try to understand. It really depends of the skills that you have.
Yeah.
But operations hires a lot of people if they have the skills that are needed right now. So it can also be an option for new members.
Yeah, that's a great observation. It depends on the person where they should try to. Like if let's say you're a developer, then there's a whole plethora of things you can do. If you're not a developer, then that will be harder for you. If you're a content creator, it depends on what skill sets and how you would like to be involved, really. So you have to look at the intersection of your skills and interests and where you see problems right now. And if you don't know, you could say, hey, I'm a marketer, or I'm a manager person. I coordinate people. I write reports. And you just ask one of the founding members who'd be reasonably identifiable, what's the best way for me to do something right now, for example. And that would be one way to discover it. Again, so we've said it a few times now, we're going to make this a lot easier, but that could be one way to be proactive about discovering it. But to the last point, are you right that you need to be able to contribute? I would say no. It seems like Ricardo agrees. So
yep.
That's I guess an optimistic message. Okay. Next one is from Ole. Zuzuk, who said, let's start from the start. How did you come up with the idea to create Project Joystream, and why name Joystream? Oh, so that is actually a very very long story, because Joystream is actually a super old project. So believe it or not, Joystream, like as a project, began in, drumroll, 2014. Okay, so it's like before the Ethereum sale or something, right? So you may be wondering, how on earth is that possible? Well, so Joystream started roughly focusing on like the core idea of like, okay, media distribution, blockchain technology, peer-to-peer, but it was very different. The focus there was take Bitcoin, which was this new micropayment kind of infrastructure, and introduce it into BitTorrent. So I hope some of you know what BitTorrent is. It's this peer-to-peer file sharing system. It's about 20 years old. Hundreds of millions of people use it still to this day. A lot of the principles in BitTorrent you'll find in Bitcoin. But we thought, well, this is me and Mukhtar actually, so now you know how long we've been working together. We thought, hey, there's this problem in BitTorrent that people only want to download stuff, which I'm sure all of you have experienced. No one wants to upload stuff. So why don't you just add a wallet into a BitTorrent client so that the people who download can basically pay with Bitcoin micropayments using like the smart contract tech called payment channels, which was very, very new at the time. So people were very excited about this. So we were very, very well known in the Bitcoin community, which is kind of weird to say now. So that's where we started. So it's like thematically related. That's where the origin story. So we started to build this. We implemented the basic protocol. The source code for it is still, I think it's still public, right, Martin, under the Joystream organization. So you can find a full BitTorrent
No, not the
client.
same organization. It was the Joystream organization back then.
Oh, right. Okay, so there's another organization called Joystream Classic. Okay, so we're going back, which is like a full-blown BitTorrent client built on something called libTorrent, which is this like epic BitTorrent library, which has been in use for, a long time. And basically, it does what I'm talking about. So that's the origin story of like where Joystream came from. The name Joystream, at times, I've been kind of depressed about. Kind of a weird name. People get different kinds of ideas about what it is based on that name. But at this point, I've just sort of accepted, okay, Joystream's fine. It's streaming. It's happiness. Great. It sort of works. Names don't really mean anything at the end of the day. It's just sort of a sound people make.
You can also add that it used to be a cute little elephant.
It did, yes.
Blowing a stream of water on itself.
Yes. That's
looking
so
very joyous.
We should publish a blog post or something about that. Like some people were really depressed when we discarded that logo.
Me.
Yeah. Oh, right. That was you. Okay. Yeah. So that's the story of where Joystream
I'm some
came
people
from.
now.
Yeah. I didn't even remember. So that's where it came from. And then in 2018, we learned some lessons. We sort of said, okay, what's the good part of what we've been building? Well, like there are a bunch of opportunities. In 2018, the blockchain world looked very different to 2014. You could do a lot more technology, the tooling, the vision, which was broader. And that's where like the 2.0 version came. Maybe I should do a separate video about that just for the fun of it. But that's where...
Yeah, that was what I was going to suggest. So you didn't spend the rest of the call on that. But
did I go too long?
Here we are.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's fine. There's a question, so I'm just going to... there, you should be able to unmute.
Yeah, thank you. My question about marketing. When will advertising and marketing be launched? How are activities that attract followers are valued? Let's say Twitter challenge or something so on. Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess we touched upon this earlier. We will do it, but we don't really have a specific plan for doing it. I would say it's becoming more and more important to do, but the core is to get the mechanics of our founding member program and the KPIs and everything working better. There are problems there, as everyone who's been participating experiences. Just getting more people, if we spend time trying to get more people, I think that would be suboptimal use of our time, basically, trying to do that. But it is something that we think is important, right? Because it can't only be the founding members. So but then you said, what's the value of other people in the community trying to grow the audience that follows Joystream in general, I guess on social media and that kind of stuff. And I would have to say, I don't know. That's, the way this works, which may sound puzzling, is that really Ben is like the founding member king, basically. He doesn't tell me anything. He doesn't tell me like, this is now getting more valuable. People are doing this. He's just sort of judging. He has this northern star of like, find great people, reward them. Okay. And so if Ben was here, he could give you an answer about how important he thinks it is to grow. Let's say if you could prove to Ben, hey, we grew the Twitter follower account by 200 people. There's always the problem there of like abuse. So let's leave that aside. But if it genuinely was 200 people, so you could know for sure that it was, what's the value of that? I have no clue what Ben would say. What do you think, Martin?
For that was a very specific thing, of course. I think he would look like as a percentage of what, and as you say, Twitter. I guess the problem there, as you also kind of bring up, is
that's the abuse issue.
It's just so it's the most. Yeah. It's probably the most difficult place to figure it out, unless you. I mean, if people have long post histories and everything, you have to go and click and see does this make sense, or is this bot? Or is this
there should be a service for that, where you could just like put in a Twitter post or like put in a Twitter
profile, see how many other posts are the same thing, and if they replied to. I think would be a better way to go about it, to see who they replied to typically, because it's these bots typically do like a very targeted thing. All of them do one thing, and then this cluster moves on to something else, and then they do that.
Oh, I see.
Okay. I think that would be the best way to.
Well, I don't know what's the best
way.
He
can't do that. That's the point. Ben can't sit there and do that.
Yes. So if there was a service like this, that would do his job easier. The fact that he may have a hard time figuring that out may make him skeptical about rewarding it, unfortunately. Right? That's the issue there.
Yeah.
So, but, one of the things that's always feasible is to ask, if someone has a very specific idea, what if I do this? Is this something that's valuable? I think he would try to give you a rough idea of whether it's high or low or something like that, perhaps. Hopefully. I think that.
Yeah. It seems
not
like
sure
a good idea.
How easy it is to reach. He may be getting a lot of messages. I'm not sure. So Ben is on a 1 week hiatus, so he'll be back. So don't worry. He'll be able to answer questions more in detail next time. Cool. Should we keep going? No one's raising their hand, so I guess we can.
We have about 5 more. Oh, was there a hand there? Yeah, there was.
I don't see a hand. Oh, yeah, there's.
No, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Cool. There's a question there about does JS Genesis want to become a full-fledged working group within the Joystream structure after the release? It's an interesting one.
Well, we don't really have a way to just like spin up working groups. So it's not, we have this idea of operations working groups, which are like general purpose, which is different from like storage working groups or content directory working groups, which are for specific things. Maybe we should have the ability to spin up working groups, actually. That may be an argument for that. I think the way JS Genesis will contribute to the system is primarily in the same way it's doing now. So not as a formalized entity. People in JS Genesis may choose to occupy roles both in the DAO and in JS Genesis. But I don't think there's like a JS Genesis module or something in the chain.
No, there won't be.
No. So maybe the answer is then no.
Yeah, I think that's the short answer.
Yeah. Cool. Should we keep going? I mean, how long have we gone? I'm happy.
We have gone 15 minutes.
50 or 15? It has to be
50. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 50 minutes.
Yeah. I will talk as long as someone will talk to me, put it that way.
And sometimes longer.
Yeah. I don't have anything else scheduled, so I'll just keep talking. Cool. Let's see. Bedejo, this is from Spatsochi. Hope I'm not massacring that name. Can you give me 1 to 3 killer features about your project to convince me and other potential newcomers to participate in your project for the long term? Great question. I mean, I guess when you ask it in these terms, I think what's really being asked is like, give me the 1 to 3 reasons why like this will be a big thing where people will use it for its intended purpose and it will be interesting and important and it'd be significant, right? So like, why will it get traction basically in the end? And there are a few different buckets of reasons I really keep on top of mind and that I focus on making sure we preserve as we're building. And so definitely one thing which is the least visible now to people and which actually ties back to the whole BitTorrent story is the ability of other people to build on your system, right? So if you're YouTube, for example, basically YouTube is a silo that's entirely cut off from developers, right? Developers cannot really build something like a TikTok or any kind of a video distribution service on top of YouTube. So there's a ton of creators, energy, infrastructure, content is there, but it's like siloed off. And so you could think of like Joystream as like the Ethereum of like video products where developers can say, I think I can repackage a video experience, maybe with a particular vertical in mind or with some kind of new form factor, short form videos, long form videos, I don't know what it would be. And they can build totally new video product experiences, rebuilding all the open source tools and the DAO and the financing and everything that's in there. So I think that's actually a very powerful feature that really none of the corporate silos can replicate. Because, well, first of all, almost all of them choose to not have APIs that actually allow developers to do this. So you can't really do anything on top of YouTube if you just continue the analogy. But secondly, building on top of any of them is really a risky proposition. So if you know anything about web history, you know that people tried to build on Facebook and all kinds of platforms before. And then invariably what happens is that the APIs or something gets changed. So really your product doesn't work anymore. So that's like a very fundamental reason where a blockchain system where the APIs and the state is visible to everyone is a really powerful way to draw in complementary actors like developers. So that's, I think, less visible to people right now because we're doing all the app development, but I think that's a very powerful long-term feature of the system. I think another category of features is that it's a platform that combines like video distribution with a lot of new, really innovative digital asset tools. So these are being built right now. I'm talking about social tokens, the ability for a creator to issue tokens for their channel, issue NFTs for their videos. You can't do that on YouTube, and I would bet a significant amount that that's something that both, well, technically, scale-wise, organizationally, regulatorily, it's a big pain for them to try to roll out something like that. And so that, I think, is another killer feature for the creator side, which invariably draws in the audience side. And then I think the third bucket I would focus on is just that you're probably going to have a better time with more predictability as a creator, not being cut off or losing access to your assets or your audience using building on Joystream rather than a proprietary silo. So I think a lot of people will start using Joystream in parallel with whatever other service they're using, which I think is a really great way to get the flywheel going. So I hope there was actually exactly three things. So I hope that was useful. Cool. How can we help new people tell and explain what we're doing here? Everyone thinks it's like other projects, just as an ambassador program. Good question, Laura. Excellent question. I like that you're pointing out that it's not like everything else because it really isn't. My honest answer is I don't actually know, but I suspect we will figure it out very soon because we're now more focused on doing that than ever before. So I think we've just neglected doing it in terms of emphasis, time, resources, people. Like people may not know that the JS Genesis is basically just like a team of technologists, designers, and like Martin does operations, and there's so far 0 people doing anything having to do marketing or communication or anything like that. So there's a lot of low-hanging fruit there for us to pick in terms of doing better. So I will say I don't have the answer, but we're now more focused on it than before.
There's a hand. There's a hand there.
Oh, RStep 1991. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hey.
Let's imagine the case when someone are not eligible as a founding member at the moment of mainnet launching, but at previous periods he or maybe she successfully executed roles like content curator or so. Would you kindly help me with an information? Does he or she have any opportunities in mainnet period, like not a founding member, but content curator or other more if it's eligible to say not a senior but junior roles, like, you know?
Excellent question. I think one thing which may is, in your question, I'm sort of sensing that you're assuming that to be in the council or to be a content director or curator or to run a storage node, you have to be a founding member. And that is not true, right?
It's like
founding member.
Yeah. Okay. I catch your idea. You mean that if you keep providing any activities currently in testnet stage, you will definitely become a founding member one time, in some period of time.
I don't think he's guaranteeing that, but what he's kind of saying is, at least what I would say, is that you are if you become a founding member, you get social credit, which would definitely help you to get a role, and you get tokens, which would also help you because you will be able to stake.
Yeah, okay,
early.
but my case was not about becoming a founding member. It was about lacking of opportunity to be the founding member, and it's about how I can perform in mainnet if I lost my opportunity to become a founding member, and I still stayed as a content curator or council member or something.
Could I keep going?
Okay, so people should go.
Thank you.
Okay, so just the first answer here is yes, even if you have 0 tokens, you're not a founding member, it would still be possible for you to occupy roles on mainnet and earn an income and do all sorts of things, right? What you probably would have to do is you need to have, like, let's say you need to have like the minimum number of tokens to like make a proposal or like apply for a position, right? You don't need to have like a lot of tokens like founding members probably may end up having, right? But you need to have some minimum amount to make a transaction, like a gas on Ethereum, to just to make it clear what I'm talking about. So suppose you have enough gas to make a transaction. That's all you need, right? At that point, you can get all sorts of roles. So there is no need to be a founding member in order to be even on the council, right? To be on the council, all you have to say is, hey, I'm an excellent person. These are the reasons. I'm going to do this, and this, and this, and this. And then you have to build more or less like a political campaign belief among other people who do hold tokens that, hey, our step 1991, I think this person has some good ideas. Let's vote for them. So you don't need to have a massive amount of tokens at all to be able to participate and earn an income and run the system on mainnet.
And here is where it would help if you had some experience on the testnet.
Let me make sure that he just gets to that part. Was that clear? Do you feel like I answered that first part?
Yeah, I'm completely satisfied with your answer.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So before we move on to anything else, so that's the first part.
Thank you very much.
Archer is also with the smooth glasses happy. So, so then the next part is, I think maybe you were not here for this, but we're very seriously considering how to make sure people can, in fact, get founding member credit and tokens after mainnet, right? So that's currently not part of the program, but that is very possible that we may change it. This is something we're looking into at the moment, right? So it may be that even if you're not a founding member at launch, maybe you can still be given the same privileges sometime after launch. That won't be for a very long period of time. Again, I'm being vague in terms here, mainly because I don't actually know. But it's not necessarily the case that this status is even impossible to acquire, even if you don't get it by mainnet launch. So before we go any further, was that clear? That was for you, or step back.
Yeah, completely. Thank you. I'm completely got your
Excellent.
points.
All right, Martin, I defer to you. I think, sorry, the person waving their hand, I don't know the name because I didn't read it, but okay, maybe you can go first, person waving their hand.
Where's which one?
I see her to the right of you. Well, I don't know.
Can you
zoom?
Can you give me an indication
wave your hand again.
of the name?
Wave. Well, I can't. You see?
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. You muted me. I have a question.
I'm innocent.
But I couldn't make sound. Okay. I have a question. What is more important for council member? To make some KPI or to voting on proposal? Because yesterday we had some discuss about it, and I think that in mainnet we will not have KPIs for council members because other groups will do it. So I think that now it's important to vote on proposals. Yes, it's more important. I want you to answer this question because people asked it yesterday.
I can try to answer. Do you mind, Martin?
Go ahead.
All right. So I would guess, again, Ben actually is the authority, but I would guess that, remember, what's the point? The point is, in the founding member program specifically, is to identify those great people who've shown that they have the skills, the know-how, the commitment. Okay? So then by simply voting, by just saying yes or no or abstain, it's hard to be able to show that much exactly what you do. Maybe you just voted and you didn't do anything else. And it's like, well, then you went to lunch. Okay. So therefore, voting is, I would say, unlikely to be able to give you a lot of points. If you say, I voted on every single proposal, it's amazing. Okay. Well, everyone can actually do that, right? So KPIs are probably, I would guess, way, way more important in the founding member program, because there you're saying, I did this, I wrote this, I solved this complex problem, I worked with this other person, we delivered X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. So I would guess by far KPI performance for council members is more important to show that they're the real thing compared to voting. Over to you, Mark.
Yeah, a very good indication would be that there is a correlation between the amount of the reward size you get for a week on the council and the founding member points you get. So if something like voting is worth, I believe we have $200 shared across the council members, and for other KPIs you can have $500 for one specific one. So share 200 or get 500 alone gives you a very strong indication. But if that's another question is if that is what we would aim for in the future. That's a different question altogether. But currently, that's how it is.
But Martin, you created KPI council side, and before it was council descent. I understood it like it's important to vote, but vote to understand each proposal, to make your opinion about each proposal, to have it. And I think it will be important on mainnet. But now
certainly true.
Okay.
I'm not saying we're not trying to say it's not important. What we're trying to say is that let's look at, we can look at it in many ways. So how do you grade someone voting? Say you voted yes on proposal 482. Then you have to actually go in. If one were to grade this, you would actually go in and see, okay, how early they vote? What did they vote for? Do I agree with this? Do I know that they actually read the proposal? Or did they just vote the same thing person before them voted? I mean, there's so many variables there. And if you are supposed to do that for 100 proposals a week for 20 council members, you're going to have a bad time. You're going to have a really bad time. So I think the problem with it is that it's impossible to verify, which is one of the reasons why we made the council dissent thing, and also the council, I don't remember what it's called now, that's embarrassing, but the similar one. So thank you. because it will be a way to be able to for people to show that they're actually paying attention and reading the proposals and thinking about it, and can come up with constructive criticism, for example, if need be. And that part we try to reward both, especially maybe those should be one of the exceptions where the council member should get even more in founding member points, because it shows that for this specific role, I don't make the decision, it's Ben again, but I would say that then you're kind of proving your worth for the particular role you are currently occupying. That'd be my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. I understood.
Yeah. So it's more about the limits of being able to evaluate, because you can't look into someone's mind and see what did they think and how much did they plan. And yeah, that's the reason it's hard to really weight that, even though you're right that it's very important in mainnet. Cool. So before I continue,
should we say if someone else have should we just see if someone has a question to ask in?
We have new questions in chat.
Yeah. I'm just also feeling that I have to go to the bathroom at some point.
Why don't you go? I've got this. I went.
You got this. I'll just leave. This. Go home. You got this.
So I'll just keep going in the chat. Father in the house. I think did we do that? You say that we need to attract more people to the project. Question: how to attract people? This requires doing more marketing work like everyone else in the marketplace. What are your plans for marketing and going to market? Maybe it's worth starting to expand a little KPI towards more work in other social networks and work with the community in them at the moment, or is it too early to talk about it? For example, my personal problem when I was a council member for the first time was that I didn't have technical skills. I didn't know what I could do from the tasks. Most of the tasks are written in a technical language of programmers, and this is a problem for newcomers. What should a new person come to the council? What should a new person come to the council who does not have technical knowledge, but, for example, understands PR, contests, and work within the community in social networks? Okay, so that was a complex question. I think I see 5 question marks, so I can't really fully answer the question. But the core, the most important part seems to be this person, father in the house, is a person who has marketing skills or marketing interests. And if they participate in the council, they don't feel like they could add value, or they're not rewarded for trying to add value in that kind of a way, because there aren't KPIs or they're not things that actually recognize this kind of a contribution despite it being important. So can we do something about this? And I think that certainly makes a lot of sense. I'm actually not sure whether the council is the best way to do it. Maybe so we have 1 operations working group now. We're going to get 2 more in the next release. So that and these working groups are going to be bigger, and they're going to have bigger budgets, right? So it could very well be that one of those working groups, operations working groups, should be a marketing working group, right? And that would probably be more of a position where someone like this, father in the house, could have a stable role. So it's not like you have it for a week. Maybe you have it over multiple weeks, and you can plan and execute on more bigger projects. So that could be a better position to try to get recognition for what you're doing. The council may not be the right place. And so this goes back to our communication, trying to explain to you where you should be going. Maybe council isn't the right part. And remember that there's always the opportunity to make funding requests to the council to ask them for support for doing something like this. Maybe they wouldn't support you because they don't have any KPIs that tell them it's useful, in which case that would be very valuable to know. Or you could just directly ask us the way you're doing now, and then we're going to have to respond to it, right? So anytime anyone has an inquiry, what about this kind of value I can add? It's not accounted for anywhere. How can I get recognized for it? The best way is to just tell us like this or at any other time, because we don't know all the different ways and all different skill sets that you guys have that could be useful to to the project. So I hope that, so just to summarize, number one, I'm not sure council is actually the best, council member is the right position. Number two, there's going to be a new working group, which one of them will probably be about marketing, which could be a perfect position for this. Number three, if you think you can add value in some way that is not recognized in any scheme, tell someone. And then that can tell Martin, hey, I need to focus on making KPIs for marketing, for example, right? So I hope that father in the house gives you a path forward on where to go. You wrote something in Russian, I believe, which I can't read, so I just assume it's not important for us.
Can I read it? Because I sit here to translate questions from Russian to English, but people don't ask us in Russian. He asked me to show my cat because his children.
Cool. Okay. Did you say show your cat?
Yes, I have a cat.
I didn't see it. Oh, there we go. Okay. Cool.
Hi there.
There we go. So I hope he or she is happy. Cool.
The daughter or the cat?
Tomato. Well, father in the house, really. That was what I was talking about. Even if one isn't a founding member, they can still build a significant reputation. Okay, Tomato's making this point, maybe to one of the point that was being made by our step 1991. They can still build a significant reputation, for example, on the forum proposals on testnet, which would potentially mean you're given more support by the rest of the community compared to a newcomer. Certainly that's true. That's definitely true. Then there is from a person whose name I can't pronounce. Unfortunately, the project manager expresses his thoughts very competently. Thank you for the AMU. Is that me? Am I the project manager? I hope so. In that case,
it's
I'm very
certainly
flattered.
not me who's expressing myself so elegantly. Okay. So,
well, thank you, sir. It's very kind of you to say, or ma'am. I'm not sure with that name, unfortunately. Ruslan Kadyrov, tell me what is more important for the project at the moment to understand what is better to focus on for further work. What is more in demand? Okay, so we're clearly getting feedback here that people are very having a hard time figuring out what to do, what's valuable, what isn't. So definitely this will be fixed. I give you my personal guarantee. This will be fixed. When people show up to the Joystream project, new people and existing people, there will be a perfect way for you to understand exactly how what the project needs lines up with what you can do. We will fix that. Okay. So
we have a timeline on that.
We've started working on it, to put it that way. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I'll be able to put out a timeline later. Certainly this quarter. That's for sure. So let me quickly repeat for Kadyrov's benefit how to understand what's important. Okay. The purpose of the program is to find people who are committed to growing with the system, running it, having success for themselves and for the project overall. And so what you need to do is basically right now, look at the system, understand the system, figure out roughly how it works. This isn't as easy as it should be, but it is possible. And you could use a mixture of reading, looking at videos, asking other people. So you can get some kind of understanding of what are the different parts and what are the problems. I mean, this is a problem. Your problem is a problem, right? So just to start there. And then you could say, of all these, let's say 15 problems I've identified, which one of these problems are interesting to me and I have skills to try to tackle them. And almost certainly, if you just did those two steps, I don't think anyone else is doing it at the moment in a way which makes your contribution not useful. I think you almost certainly, if you did that in a very short period of time, then would probably think, okay, this person is a quality contributor, right? I can say from his point of view, he wants to give founding member status. He just wants to see contributions that to him, I mean, you may not agree with him always, but to him seem like, okay, we can trust this person. We can give them this responsibility, as was said further, to have this power and this role into the future, right? That's what he wants to see. So you just need to help convince him, basically. And that means doing something where you explain, I did this because I saw it was a problem for this reason. This is why I thought it was a problem. So I did these steps. It's not a trivial thing to solve this thing, but I did it. And then you do that, those are the general steps, regardless of what's going on. So I hope that was helpful. And then member Leet says something in Russian, I think. And Laura says, we're cool. Thank you very much. We think you're cool too, Laura. Really appreciate you having you in the community. So thank you for that. And then Arstep says, thanks for the AMA. And Carlito says, thanks, we'll work on it. Great. And that's the only question we have left. That's it. That is not it in terms of time, but in terms of questions. So we're now just sitting here waiting for questions. Oh, I think people are just starting like.
Yeah, I think they're
Zandrel saying thanks. Yes, it was great to talk. Hey, I'm not saying it's over. I'm just saying I have nothing more to say unless people ask anything.
You sound like desperate to go on now, basically.
Don't leave. I have nothing to do. The rest of
I
the
haven't.
evening.
I need an audience. It's like.
Okay, Tomato asks, can you briefly explain how the upcoming new budget mint system will work? Oof, I'm going to have to say probably not well.
That should be, and also probably that should be like a...
Too technical, too in the future. So I know for you, it will be a benefit for you. It is actually in the handbook. So there's this thing called a handbook, by the way. If people are very technical and very interested, they can go and read a handbook, which is on, I can paste the URL, where you could read all sorts of very detailed things about how the system works, and it will explain how the mint works. So I'll just paste that in the chat. We keep working on that to help people contribute as developers, but anyway. So shut down, Tomato. I will not answer that. Yeah, it was informative, says Mary. It's okay for a future video. Yeah. Anything? Should we just talk about something, Martin? What do you want to talk about until people want to say something else?
Well, I do probably. Let me look at the other questions I kind of held back. If there's something there. Yeah. How will Joystream compete with centralized platforms, and what is our competitive advantage niche compared to both centralized and decentralized alternatives? You did, of course, touch on this.
Yes, I did. There's two big categories there. Centralized, I think it's these, three things that, as I mentioned. One, it's really hard for developers to build on centralized, siloed Web 2 platforms like YouTube. In fact, I don't think there's a single real app that consumers use on top of that platform. So it's the ability to draw in developers to build products and apps that are differentiated. Maybe they focus on different verticals. That's something very unique to blockchains. If you look at something like what Ethereum has done for like financial innovation, it's very easy. You could take some smart contracts, you have a bunch of liquidity, you have a bunch of financial primitives you can reuse, you have some Oracle feeds, and then you could just build something new. And that was very, very hard to do in the old financial system. There's a lot of permissions you have to ask and a lot of hoops you have to jump through. And that's very unique, I think. And that's something that is very unlikely for YouTube to be able to change now, like 20 years into their sort of story. So that's one. I also mentioned the community growth tools and monetization tools. So the NFTs, the social tokens, I think those are super powerful. I'm so eager for us to get those out. I think every creator should be able to issue their own token, to be able to fundraise from their community, to be able to share the upside with their community. So I think those are very, very powerful. And I think those, again, is very hard for these at-scale platforms to incorporate. Now, actually, for the decentralized space, that's much more interesting. And I will say, I will make a video about it, put it that way, to do it justice. Because there's like lots of different projects. They do different things. They have different project strengths and weaknesses. And so I know there's a person, Doppelganger or Daplooker or something. I forget his or her name now, who has requested this multiple times. And I keep failing to produce it. So I'll make one which is focused exclusively on how are we compared to other Web3 platforms, because that's more interesting, I think.
Now we have a couple new ones.
Oh, okay.
Did you see it there, or do you want to read it out as well?
I see Jan. Also, I have a question. Say me, please. Now, we have 82 validators from 105. We have a low stake for this process. So if all people decide that they don't want to run nodes, who is running nodes? What will the results be? So it's just basically asking, is it a problem, or what do we do if no one wants to run nodes? Now, the reason we've wanted to actually discourage running nodes for a few different reasons. Number one is they consume a large part of the budget every week, and they don't actually bring a lot of value in terms of growing the community and the DAO. They're very sort of commodity participation. It's very easy to get validators on all these proof of stake chains. So if you run a validator, you haven't learned really anything about Joystream, right? It's very easy to get them. It's very undifferentiated. So we want to discourage it because it's really a distraction for people to start doing that. It doesn't do anything. On mainnet, it's a different story. You need to have validators, but that's a different choice, right? You could have different policy variables there about how much they get as a reward. But right now, we want to discourage it because there's really no purpose, right? Now, I believe we are running some one or two validators. So if it was going to go to zero, which has never happened throughout all of our testnets, I guess that would be the backup. But I honestly think that's just very unlikely. Maybe we should, just as a backup, run a few. Do we run them, Martin? I think we did because we had some problem, right?
Yes, nodes and validators aren't the same thing, of course. We need to run nodes for the public API and everything. But we also have set up validators that are basically invulnerable, as it's called. So that means that if people have more stake than them, they have very little stake. They will get relegated. If it was 105, I will say there was 20 people on the waiting list, they will probably be on the waiting list now. But once the number drops, they will come in and take over. Okay. So I think we run 4 or 8 that way.
Yeah. So I'm not sure.
It's not a big concern as of now. And of course, if we did drop to 10, the people who did run a node would actually then start earning quite a lot of money. Interestingly. So at some point, they would make a lot of financial sense to just do it. A lot, but like $50, $100 a month or week or something, which wouldn't be bad.
Cool. All right. So I'll continue in the chat. Asking questions in the video stream has priority, but I'll continue there. Have you found, this is Tomato, have you found the testnet activity to be useful for development? Has there been any particular things that have happened on the community side that have made you adjust the direction of development? Probably a ton. I fail to be able to start enumerating them, but there are all sorts of problems where people just point out an issue. Like just today, I guess you, Tomato, just today pointed out this problem that there could be the need for emergency spending. Now, I don't know if that was based on something that had actually happened on the testnet. Maybe your thoughts about the topic had come from that. But what if there's emergency spending and the budget doesn't allow for that, right? And basically, I quickly agreed with him that was actually a big problem, and we added a proposal that needs to be added in the future, which will be before mainnet, for allowing the council to spend even outside of the limits of their budget for unique situations.
It's kind of relevant to the time. Like, it's a big thing now in the American politics. They're raising the debt ceiling again, and it's kind of funny that maybe that was what set him.
Let's keep it politically neutral
on
for
that
now.
Track.
I'm not sure if Arthur agrees with that. Or... Yeah. Anyway, but yes, just that's an example. We have also problems. We had a big problem when there was a bunch of uploads when Sumer went live, because it became a lot easier. There was Atlas was an easy way to upload, and then the storage system had a lot of problems, and we had to prioritize that. So yeah. So I would say yes. I don't remember all of it, unfortunately. Yep.
Can I ask Martin, did you get questions from Zadik because he collected it from Russian-speaking community, but I'm not sure that you got it?
Yes, he did. He shared them a couple of hours before, so I was of the impression that these were questions people would come in and ask. So because we way back we actually gathered written questions that I curated a bit for the initial talk we had. But no, those I didn't want to kind of read up like a list of 21 questions without having any thought about it before. So I would say that if we could do them, we could do them at a later time.
I'm happy to do it now. We're here. Why not? Unless people want to ask other questions, I could read. You're referring to the community call Word document. Is this the one?
Yes.
With 21 questions? Yeah. So I could just read off of that. Should I do that?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Also, is it possible to add more activities other than videos? So this one's hard. I'm not sure exactly what this means. Other than videos, is it other than publishing videos? In which case, my answer is you could do a ton more than publishing videos. So I'm confused about number one. Maybe someone who did the translation or asked the question could pop in or say something, or I could share the link to this so everyone knows what I'm talking about. So I don't know. Well, number one, you can do a ton more than upload videos. That's certainly the case. I think most people do other things. What does Joystream think about the fact that certain group has gathered inside a community and is taking over the management of the process? Doesn't that carry a danger of the DAO? So one thing for me to say, number one, I hope no one gets like angry at each other on this call, whatever this group is and the other people who are not in the group. But secondly, I know much less about what's happening on the testnet than you may imagine. So I have not heard about this phenomenon at all. So I don't know what has happened in order for me to give my opinion about it. So is someone able to explain this in a way which is sort of neutral, isn't too bad? All right. So it's going to be hard to answer because okay, let me just try to speculate then. So taking over management, what can that mean? That can mean, and I have heard something about this where people are very strategic in who they want to vote for. So they're like, hey, can you vote for me, or I'll vote for this person, or Tomato says, if I had to guess, they may be talking about the Russian language community being relatively large in the project. Okay. Well, that doesn't seem like a problem in and of itself to me. I think there's probably a diverse group of people. So no, I would say that's not a problem in and of itself. I have heard that there's like strategic votes for like, vote for these people. And to me, that doesn't in and of itself seem like a problem. I expect these kinds of dynamics to happen on mainnet. I think the set of people voting will be probably much broader. Right now, it's not that easy to get testnet tokens of any significant magnitude, right? There isn't a place to like buy it. There isn't a lot of easy ways to earn it. So therefore, I think there are more these dynamics of it being hard for the tokens to get into the hands of a broader set of people. So
there's limited reasons to vote, even if you have them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For most people, there's actually no reason to vote, which is a problem.
So so my answer would be, I don't know what exactly has happened. Maybe there have been some bad activities or effects, but in general, coordinated voting, I don't think is a problem per se. I guess that would be my answer. As long as there's a competitive process of different candidates and ideas that are bidding for the attention of the token, so to speak, voting for where the system should go, then it sounds like that should still make the project overall successful. Okay, number 3. What is now being created when the community can't be called a DAO? It is the exact opposite of what we want to create. What are the solutions provided to JS Genesis in the event that the DAO turns into a monopoly power? Is there a plan to solve this problem? I suspect this is the same problem as number 2, I guess. I assume, unless there are like multiple different problems. So I would say some of these effects are being exacerbated by being on testnet. It's hard to get tokens. If you have some idea for how the system should be run, you could, under normal circumstances, go out and acquire tokens and use that to influence the system. Right now, there isn't like any way to smoothly get into the system. It's very opaque and difficult and takes time to participate and so on. And so therefore, I think these dynamics are going to be stronger than the normal. But I think I would just like to know, whoever wrote this, just write me an email or post it somewhere in the, well, actually, don't write me an email. So let's keep everything in the open. Write something on the forum. What do you mean? What are the unfortunate things? What are you unhappy about? In what sense isn't something a DAO? And then we can progress with it. So as you can tell, I'm definitely not as in tune with all the details of the community activity as one could imagine, given that there's so many other things to focus on. And number C is I call for peace and suggest organizing a roundtable meeting to address these issues for those who are truly interested. I think that sounds very interesting. I would just want to participate and hear what's going on. Hopefully it would be in English, but anyway, I'm all for that. But again, this is a bit of a mystery to me. Does anyone want to fill me in? Ricardo, Martin, are you guys wiser about this, or anyone else?
I want to add. Yes, I tried to understand these questions, and it was difficult for me because I really think that we have some groups around, I don't know, 2, as I see, 2 big groups, and they have different opinions. And it's very interesting because one of the group, they are founding members, and another group, almost all not founding members. And I think that almost all founding members have the same opinion on different things.
Can you give an example? What kind of a thing would there be? What would be an example where everyone would be in this camp who's a founding member and everyone else would be in another camp?
Oh, you want to tell names or what? Sorry.
No. I don't need to know who the people are. I'm saying, what would be an example of a proposal or some question where all the founding members would say A and all the non-founding members say B?
I know question. I know example.
Okay.
For example, it was a proposal for becoming Tomata consul secretary because he had some holidays, I don't know, and we didn't see him, and now he came back and he wanted to become a secretary again, but we had Laura. She was a consul secretary before when Tomata has holidays, and non-founding members chose Laura because Laura chose her, and I think that all founding members chose Tomata, and it's one of the examples because we have it, but we don't have one group which to call. I don't know. It's strange.
Okay, interesting.
But it's fine.
But Laura is a founding member. Am I wrong about that?
Yes, she is, yes.
So I guess she would agree that she would want to be the council secretary.
No. She's like a leader of another group.
Oh, another. Okay. That's very interesting.
Yes,
okay.
But I don't think that it's problem because we can decide something together.
Okay, well, that certainly sounds great. The goal here is like we are all in the same boat in that we're trying to launch something in it to be successful. All the success is still ahead of us, right? So that has to be as a result of everyone coming together and in the mutual success of the system. So I hopefully I would like that to be possible in a good-natured way. But yeah, that's really interesting. As the first thing I would just say, I was totally unaware of all of that. So
I don't think we should pick sides anyway.
No. But what's a good way for this to become more visible? Or I would be interested. I'm not sure, maybe content. People should make content about this. I don't know, it becomes like a drama show. But
if you read our Telegram chat or forum thread, you will see it.
Right, that's the problem.
It's visible. It's visible.
Okay.
Ricardo has a comment as well, I assume. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that probably I was the one that started the idea of voting for tomato. I choose tomato because Laura was already the council secretary some rounds in a row. So yeah, I thought that would be good to have another person in that position. Could be another person than that tomato. Tomato was the only one that applied besides Laura. So yeah, that's why I choose him. About the let's say the sides that on the community could be related with it's easier for a founding member to become a council member comparing to a new member because they have the tokens for to be elected without having the votes of the community. So yeah, that could create like two sides in the community and could like make people a bit mad with the founding members. I'm not sure if the question was about that type of difference, founding members and regular members, but I think it's an interesting question. But I guess that if you contribute more to the project, then it's a bit normal that you can that your opinion it's can have more weight than just a new member that has been here for a day or two.
I agree with your basic point there, but there is also the whole objective of like the point of the testnets is not to make the testnets great per se, to perform as well as they can. It is mostly to get new people in, to train them, to identify them. Like, it's really to support the founding member program in a way, and to, of course, to make sure all the tech is working and so on. And so, I mean, if it's a problem, well, that narrow problem, I'm not sure. Maybe we could just have two council secretaries. I have no clue. Maybe that's a totally fine solution. I don't know enough about that role to make a judgment about it. Martin can probably say something about this. But definitely, it will totally be in the spirit of the testnet for JS Genesis to just say, we'll just vote for you, you, and you because you're new and we want to give you a chance and screw these founding members. That's fine because the point is we're trying to give new people a shot. And if that means having some old timers having to find some other way to contribute, that's totally fine, right? So maybe it should be a mix probably of new people and old people. So yeah, I hope that wasn't too upsetting for some founding members to hear, but I think that's, again, should be in the interest of the project to make space for those people, and JS Genesis can definitely do that. So great. Okay, so I feel like this should be written down so it's not forgotten. Martin, did you want to say something?
Well, I'm recording, so I think it will be written down in that sense. But yeah, I think that unfortunately I'm going to have to go and have dinner pretty soon. But I did open up so everyone can unmute themselves, and I will make you the host video. So you can carry on for as long as you wish. But the recording will unfortunately stop now. So if someone else wants to take over that part,
okay. All the non-politically
so.
correct questions can now be submitted, so we can discuss them.
Yeah, or you can record. It's a click of a button.
Take a recording. I will be here. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
There we go.
Under LKS Karen. Nice to meet you all.
Good to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. Yeah. I'm just going to then use that opportunity to say thank you all. It was really fun, and I'm very happy with the turnout. And I hope the day will entertain you for many hours to come.
Okay. I'll keep going, at least for a while longer before my voice gives out. So, cool. So that's interesting.
Great.
I would want to find a way to learn more about this and keep more track of this, actually, so we can adjust some of the incentives and the JS Genesis involvement in the testnets more to solve these problems. So whoever wrote this, thank you for highlighting it. And yeah, if there's a problem like this, unfortunately, if it requires JS Genesis input, it has to really be in English, probably. And so writing something and putting on the forum and then saying at me or Martin or something is the best way to sort of deliver the message and say, here is a problem we think we found. Okay.
Sorry, I want to add, here you told that we need to give opportunity for newcomers, and we did it because first of all, you expanded, I don't know who exactly, expanded console size from 16 to 20 places. And if you look at the list of current council members and previous council period, you will see that we have a lot of newcomers, and we always vote for them. We choose few people from Russian community and try to vote for him to give him opportunity to express himself. So it's not a problem. If someone want, he just come to us, I don't know, to Russian community and tell, hello, I want to become a council member. It's not a problem. We vote for him.
Oh, okay. Great. Okay. So that's, so do you think, I mean, there are problems with that, but do you think the council should have 40 people?
Can you repeat?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, you're saying the council was increased from 16 to 20 people.
Yes.
Should I keep going?
We have no. It's great. No. I shouldn't go.
Okay. Okay. So my question is, just to repeat the question. My question was, if you were able to give space to people, and you have this system of finding people and giving them an opportunity. What if there were more than 20 slots? What if there were 40 slots?
I think that now it would be difficult because when we have a lot of newcomers, I mean, for example, in last time we had 6 newcomers, 6 people who came to the console first time from 20. I think it's difficult because they don't understand something, we need to explain it. And if we have 40 places, I don't know, if we have 20 from them newcomers, it will be difficult. But in the future, I think it will be good. Okay,
interesting. Cool. And how are you explaining it? Just like in the Telegram, that's how you're explaining it. And they ask questions, just...
Yes, we explain in Telegram or Discord.
Cool. Okay, that's phenomenal. Great. Yeah. So I didn't even know that, but that's great. Okay. So I'll keep... Martin is tired. Yes, that's correct, Laura. I was just curious about this point. Maybe do you know, Ricardo, would it make sense to have 2 council secretaries based on your understanding of that role?
I'm not sure. Because we already have the council secretary deputy, which shares some of the... Yeah, so another secretary would not be like a good idea. But I understand. Yeah, I think that it's a bit normal for people to like want the same role. Yeah. But okay. Um,
Can you hear me?
yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just saying that I think it's a bit normal to have like people fighting for some role. So I think it's like the one that will present like the best like promises or tasks that he will do during the council will probably get the most of the votes. But it's like a council inside a council because you have you vote for the secretary as well. But I don't think that is a big problem. And also about the size of the council, I'm not sure if we should increase it. If not now, maybe some weeks later, because with new founding members, the council starts to be like all founding members, and we will not have new members, because it's like if Genesis votes for new members, but the founding members already have tokens enough to vote for themselves, it will be like a fight between founding members and Genesis to include new members. So yeah, we will probably keep increasing the council size because of that to allow new members to participate. And I think it's really important because if we don't give them the opportunity, we will not find more people suited for the founding members program.
Okay, great. Okay, that makes sense. Tomato also says it may make sense to have two council secretaries at some point. The only alternative is to offload additional tasks to a deputy. It's a very involved role. I guess the deputy role is what he's saying. Okay, and then this was number 4 is what's the reason for the expansion of the council from 16 to 20? I mean, I'm not sure. I think I actually asked you, Ricardo, in our chat, because I'm not sure what was the reason. I mean, a nice side effect is that there are more positions for people, but the reason was what? What was the reason again?
Yeah. The reason was a bit what I have talked before. It's because a lot of the Korean members or old members have enough tokens to vote for themselves. So it was really difficult for a new member to go to the council. And yeah, that's why. And also it became really competitive to enter in the council. You had to have like a lot of tokens. So it was a really necessary thing to do.
Great. Yeah, and I was not involved in that. I was just simply told that, hey, now it's more people.
I think that a KPI was created to motivate that.
Okay.
For the council to create to change the election parameters. We had some problems with that because the proposal failed.
Yes, I remember this. Yeah, I remember that.
But then Martin sudo the election parameters. So yeah, that's why the size of the council has changed.
All right, great. Okay, should I just keep going to the next one, number 5? All right, so that is, how do you see the project in 3 to 5 years? That's a good question. Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty, so I can only sort of give you my sort of best guess. And I think there will be a few different phases. So obviously, in 2022, there's the actual mainnet, the rollout. There, the main thing that's going to happen is we're going to have the core founding members running the core operations. We, of course, have other people who can participate, going back to the other question from the other gentleman. And then the infrastructure will need to be solidified, making sure it's all work. Of course, we do a lot of work on that before the launch, but that's going to be a key part. And we're going to have the first creators join. And we're going to have creators join, we have a creator program that we're working on to allow people who are on YouTube to opt into Joystream as well. I've hinted at this in a video about the creator tools that we're shipping. But anyway, that's going to be rolled out before mainnet, and I think that's going to really kick up after mainnet, because then the NFTs, the social tokens, they all have monetary value, and it makes more sense, right? Before on testnet, it's not really that. It's hard for people to like take NFTs and social tokens seriously if they're testnet tokens, right? And that's why we do all the stuff that we do, where you can cash in the testnet joy and blah blah blah. So the first phase will be that, just solidifying infrastructure and getting the first creators. And I think the next phase, which will be like, let's say 2023, will be actually getting more sort of robust mainstream adoption from creators who are getting real value from these tools. I think that can happen much sooner, but I think that's when the system probably is stable enough to really have a good product experience and onboarding that actually can tolerate having a large growth of people coming on at the same time. So I think that's going to be very important. And then what's going to happen really in the next year is that gateways are going to come online. That's going to be a huge opportunity for people to run a totally new kind of like front end business model. If you don't know what gateways are, I don't fault you. It's mentioned a few times here and there, but it's an important way for people to build products on top of Joystream. And I think that's going to be possible in 2022. But really, in terms of developers taking the tools and building and forking Atlas, basically, and building their own versions and adding features and support, I would expect that to be, let's say, late 2023, early 2024, which is coming up on a 3-year milestone. And so I think those are like the phases of the first 3 years that you should expect. Obviously, a lot's going to happen. It's hard to predict, but that's where I see the sort of gravitational pull of where the project is going. Number 6 is it possible to extend the term of the council? It certainly is. I think it was made shorter in order to allow more people to participate in the council, basically, because if you have shorter councils, you could have more people in any given period of time participate. But basically, I'm not sure. Maybe that wasn't as successful as we wanted, but it could be longer. That would allow the council to work on bigger problems that require more time to solve. But yeah, I'm not sure. I can't really argue for increasing it. That maybe, I think probably would not be great given that we reduced it not that long ago. So again, if someone has a different opinion, best way to share that opinion is write it out, record a video, whatever you want, and just tell us, right? Because we do not have all the information and we don't have all the right answers and what's working and what isn't working at any given time. But it is technically possible, yes. It used to be longer. I think it was 3 weeks at some point. Very interested in the issue of decision-making on various issues in the future. At the moment, the problem is that those who have more companies formed from groups or people who support only their ideas, and since most of them others simply do not have a chance to win polls, how do you plan to deal with it? For example, at the moment, all those founding members have formed their circles and do not act unanimously, but only unilaterally. This will greatly harm the project in the future. This was a bit unclear. I think it's about founding members colluding or something, but it says like that they're not unanimous, so I'm not entirely sure what it's asking, but I think basically it's hard to get a hold of the tokens to actually influence the system right now. That's a big issue. There's one of the things you can do in the future is you'll be a creator and you'll earn joy from the system. That's just one mundane way you could get joy, and this joy could be used to participate, for example, voting or being a council member and so on. And so all these ways are not online. And obviously you could just acquire joy, right? You could just buy from other people. So that is now not easy. And therefore there's more of this stagnant sort of situation where it's not so easy for people to get sort of influence in the system. I think this is a variation of basically a point that was raised before. I think what I'll do is I'll read two more, 10 and 11. And then I think I'll have to give it a rest. We've been going for 2 hours plus at that point. So go ahead. You've raised your hand.
I wanted to ask, do you mind if I make recording of this part of this call? Because
record what? Yeah. Which part is it that people are particularly interested in?
You need to give me opportunity to do this.
As I see, it's still recording, by the way.
It is recording by someone. I'm not sure who.
Okay, sorry. I thought that we didn't do it.
Oh.
I know that Martin recorded.
Yeah, maybe Martin's
stopped.
recording didn't stop yet. My
Oh,
assumption.
maybe it didn't. Yeah, good point. I thought he thought that it stopped when he left, but maybe that isn't the case.
Yes.
Yeah. So should I just continue?
Maybe. So we have recording of this.
Yes,
part?
it is being recorded. This is being recorded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll
Thank
do two more. I'll do 10 and 11. So 10. Don't you think for the successful launch of the video platform, it's necessary to primarily focus on the platform itself, its form, capabilities, individuality, and not the management of DAO? After all, these people should initially understand what they have to manage. I think the question here is, shouldn't we be more focused on like the video publishing platform creator side of things? And I think that's a fair question. One thing we have wondered about is maybe we should actually spend more energy getting creators on board because they create content, they have an audience, and they get more traffic and views in the system. And that will help people discover it, and it will help generate interesting, relevant tasks for the council. I think that's plausible. So far, we've thought we've been building for a while, but we've thought that, the value, the unique value add we can show for creators isn't there. There's still, we've been working for a while, just trying to get, let's say, feature parity with like the basic experience of like publishing with a reasonably simple user experience and managing your uploads and playback and doing all that well with all the decentralized infrastructure we have and everything being run by volunteers in the DAO and all this kind of stuff. It has taken time to get it to like a reasonable level. So I think we just evaluated that it was more reasonable to spend our energy focusing on the community and not on creators as an indirect way to grow the community. Because I think before launch, if you compare creators versus community members or founding members, certainly founding members are more important. Because without key people who are knowledgeable and interested, the system will actually just not work at all. But even if you don't have creators, but you have key people, then it can't work, right? If you could make an analogy to Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin was developed and supported for a very long time before it was used for any kind of payments, let's say, which was the use case that most people were interested in the early days. And so what it did have was a passionate community of developers and people who were pushing it forward. That was the key, not people who said, I'm going to accept Bitcoin for pizza or something. And that happened way, way later. And same with Ethereum, right? Ethereum did not initially have dApp developers for a long time. I want to say it launched 2015. There were maybe toy projects in 2015, 2016, but it took a long time for it to have any serious developer adoption. The key was the core community and the people in the Ethereum Foundation pushing it forward. Okay, so that's sort of the strategic decision-making there. B, will you summarize the key points of the AMA session to present them later to those who could not attend? I know there is some kind of someone's translating or there's some transcription or something, so that will be made public. Maybe there should be a more compressed summary also. That could be something that someone could do. They could get a bounty reward for or something like that. Seems useful. I don't know if there are any specific plans about it.
Martin told that he want to make subtitles. He want to make KPI for this.
Cool. Okay, great. Yeah. I think even more than subtitles, maybe a summary is more helpful because if you have to read 15 pages of subtitles, could be kind of rough. And number 11, do you have an approximate launch date of the mainnet? What about the start date of a big marketing campaign? Are you planning to roll out a roadmap in the near future? Okay, so those 3 questions. So approximate launch date for the mainnet. Mentioned earlier, so I'm going to say go back to the earlier of the stream. Basically, it's spring of next year. That's the approximate launch date. So anywhere from like March to June, something like that. What about a start date for a big marketing campaign? That hasn't been established, right? So when you say big marketing campaign, I assume you mean something like not focused on fostering the core community and helping them be successful, but going out into the world saying, come look at us, join us, being very focused externally. That's something that we will need to do. We will need to do before mainnet, certainly. But we don't have like a concrete plan that we're like starting to execute on very soon. So we are still focused on making the experience better for you guys who are already here, to be more successful with you, because otherwise when we invite more people in, they're just going to come in and a large percentage are going to have a mediocre experience and they're going to leave. And that's sort of a wasted effort. Are you planning on rolling out a roadmap in the near future? I mean, we have a roadmap suggested in a few different ways. We have some content suggesting it. I think there are about 3 networks already mentioned as being outlined for the near future. Maybe we should put it more publicly in a visible way on our website so it's easier to find. But very detailed roadmaps I find often are hard to actually keep and commit to. So yeah, anything longer, let's say 3 months, is very speculative in terms of precise roadmaps and which feature comes in what order and what testnet, so on. Okay, so that's 11, and we just crossed 2 hours. So I think even though I promised I would keep talking until someone was here, I think I didn't realize that it would get quite exhausting for my voice. So I'm going to have to wrap here. It's been phenomenal seeing all of you. I think it was a mistake not to do this sooner. So Martin always thought this was a good idea. So clearly I was wrong and he was right. So we should definitely do this again. This is going to be a regular thing from now on. So thank you for using your precious time to be with us. And yeah, I guess that's it. Last moment for someone to say something, to object, to throw tomatoes, to whatever they want. Raise their hand. Okay. I guess that's it. Thank you very much, everyone. See you next time. All right.
Thank
Sayonara.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.